now let's switch over to working on the plywood back. This plywood is really, really important to the whole process. It sandwiches the front mirror surround and the back stand part, and it's an interface that links both of these together. So it's a really important piece. I didn't have a piece of plywood that was this long. So I went over to Home Depot and I asked the guy, if they had any scrap wood, and he said, yeah, it's back by the saw. So I walked back by the saw. On a pallet was a bunch of scrap wood, and this piece was sitting right on top. It was perfect. And so I said, yeah, this is perfect. It was in great shape. I would like to buy this. How much does it cost? And the guy said, oh, no, no, you can't buy that. That's going in the scrap bin. And I said, what do you mean? This is, this is a perfectly nice piece of wood. It's going to work perfect for my project. That's really wasteful. That you need to contact your supervisor. So he gets on the walkie-talkie. He contacts the supervisor. The supervisor says, just give it to him. The bad part is that I wanted to use my new trick little cordless Makita saw. And I made the mistake. It has a blade in it that's really a rip blade. It's not a crosscut blade or for plywood. And so I thought, well, it'll be okay. I kind of got lazy, even though I have a combination blade, you can see here, and I have a plywood blade, which you can see here. I was too lazy to put those on, and I used the blade that came there completely wrong, completely chipped out, and was kind of terrible. I had to do a lot of sanding, and I regret doing that. That was one of the things I should have stopped and changed the blade, but you know. So after I cut the plywood, I'm just fitting it in here. Needed a little bit of sanding and stuff to fit in, but it worked pretty well. So now it's time to get back to the slipper tray. That panel is dry now, and we'll just scrape some of the glue off of it and give it a quick sand. However, when I took this out of the clamps, I discovered that this panel wasn't really very flat. And so I thought a bunch of different things. I tried stepping on it to make it flat. I thought, well, I'll just get out my planer and plane it down. I really didn't want to. I didn't want it to get any thinner, but I thought this was probably the only way. But it's like 15 inches square, not going to fit in my 12-inch planer, so that was kind of a waste of time. Okay, we have that set on 5 degrees. The blade's tilted a bit. We're going to just take 5 degrees off of this side to match with that side. But first I needed to put a 5-degree cut on the edge so that it matches the profile of the mirror, and then set my saw back to 90 degrees, and then just drawing out where this feature goes in. On the plan they had it 1 inch wide and a circle. Well, I decided to make the back piece out of 3/4 because there was no reason to make it out of 1, and I didn't have any, so 3/4 it was. And so I only made this 3/4 wide, and I thought it's going to look ugly if I make it round. I'm just going to make it square, and then it should butt right up there and look really nice and clean. Plus, there was also a gap in the other side of the slipper tray on the design, which I didn't like, so I made it big enough so it would fit in there. And then here's just cutting that slot, doing a little sanding and some test fit, and then we'll go ahead and put it onto the unit. You can see that the bow really wasn't that bad, and then even more processing, like making the circles in it, everything seems to just make it flatter and flatter. And so here I just used my compass and drew a circle on there, cut this out with my jigsaw, and then I think it's ready for assembly. So now that we have this step almost completed, I think it's time to open up this leather piece that I got from Amazon and kind of see what we got. Because I looked at it a little bit just to peek at it. It seems really nice. Well, let's take a better look at it. I just checked the edge. And if we pull this out like that. Oh, wow. Look at this cool band thing that they put on there. Huh. That's neat. I wonder if there's something I can do with that. But then what we need to do is roll this out. I think it's really pretty leather. And let it relax. And then we're going to cut a piece that goes here. So again, I don't have any complicated templates or whatever. I just use whatever I have lying around, like a 5-gallon paint bucket, and to draw my circle, which seemed to be the perfect radius for me. And then just cut it out with some scissors, and we'll glue that on with some wood glue. And then later on, you'll see me put a bunch of like heavy weights there while the glue dries. But we pretty much got this looking nice. And then what I'm trying to do here is just see how, because I cut off a piece that had a glue joint in it. And I was trying to see how strong is that glue joint. So I took a couple of pliers and I was trying to get it to break on the glue joint, and I never could. Always the wood would break before the glue joint did. And here I'm just doing the radius on the back piece, same process as I did with the mirror surround. If you look closely at the photo from the magazine, you can see that they forgot to put in this feature. According to the plan, there's a radius on there, and in their sample that they have pictured in the magazine, it is not there. And then for extra strength, even though I put biscuits in it all, you can always put some screws in there to hold it together. Yeah, I've done this before. You just drill right through the biscuits. It doesn't seem to care, and works really good. So I like it. Here I couldn't really get my drill jig in there, so I just kind of had to do it the old-fashioned way, by hand. You can do pocket screws just by hand with a drill if you're good. And then just give the whole thing a sand, and that should finish up this back piece. Switching back over to the router, I just did an angle router over the slipper tray, and kind of give that a little bit of a detail. Make sure that's squared up. Drill my holes and screw it down. You can see how nicely that back piece fits in there. I like it a lot better than putting a circle relief. So now here I'm doing a test fit. I'm just going to put the mirror in, put my plywood, and do a little bit of sanding. But then if you look at how this screw is in the plan, these screws that I'm putting in, if you looked at that plan before, it only has about a 1/4 inch of material to go in, because you don't want to go through the front side of the mirror, obviously. And so it just has a 1/4 inch, just a couple threads holding in. And that holds this whole unit together. So I kind of thought if somebody is kind of manhandling the mirror and pulling it, the interface of that plywood is only held in by just a couple of threads, and it could easily pull it apart. And so that's why later in the video, I show you some brackets that I made to really hold this thing all together. But now I'm just screwing the plywood to the back piece. That's fine. And here I get into making those brackets and doing a little bit of relief for the countersink. And then I made myself a fixture so I could easily use it with the router. And then neighbor John stopped by to help me to figure out how to hold down this this jig, and that was very helpful for him to provide that tape. Worked really good.
Already got it.
I think that works great.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
I think maybe a little sanding, but
yeah.
And I had to be careful because I want the countersunk ones to go on the oak side.
Oh wow. Where'd you find that? You got tapered ones, countersunk on one side and not the other.
Oh,
wow.
I made it.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
This was actually an L bracket.
Oh, I just flattened it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just put it on the vise and took it with a hammer and flattened it out. So I guess now the challenge is
Well,
off,
I
right?
was gonna say, just grab the whole thing. Yeah. And see, that's what I love about it. It doesn't leave any residue.
Oh, there you go. I was overthinking.
Yeah, there's no.
Okay.
Yeah. And this, I think I think the backing was white on that tape. That's the cheap. That's the cheap stuff. That was a 99-cent store.
Oh, really?
This is 3M stuff, and it's funny. The last batch I got was better than this one. Like it was a thicker gauge.
Okay.
This stuff is about the same thickness, but it is a little better for being 3M. You know, it's a little better. Hey, what do you know?
That worked great.
Yeah,
It did not move and budge an
perfect.
iota.
Yeah, that's like I
And
said.
then-
I have found so many extra uses with this foil tape for bizarre things. You know, look at that. Nice. Really
That
nice.
is first class,
Yeah.
man. I like it.
Nice.
Because what I'm going to use is little teeny. I'll show you. I have little teeny screws because this is only a half-inch thick, and you know what's on the other side of this? The mirror.
Right.
There's a
Yeah.
Right now,
you can't
there's a-
go through it
there's
at
a- yeah.
all. Yeah.
So that's all I'm doing is just those right there.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't want to go like, oh, hey, let's put a big screw in there and then crack.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then I basically throw the whole project
Yeah,
in the
well,
garbage can. Yeah.
That's
I'll
gonna
buy
work
that.
perfect. And you know the best thing too, being that you've countersunk that like that,
Yeah.
any movement that this thing has, that's gonna take up a lot. It's gonna take a lot of stress off those screws, right?
Well, you really don't even need these two screws.
Yeah.
You just need these holding this
Right.
like that.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's just holding it in.
Yep.
It holds it against a
Right.
dado
That's
over
slick.
here.
That's slick.
That's great. So can I borrow
Absolutely.
that?
Yes. Use what you need. Yeah.
Fantastic. What
Yeah.
a great idea. Thank you.
No problem.
So here I'm just marking out where the brackets are going to go, just kind of equally spaced, and then just lining up my template, taping it down, and using the router to relieve that. Worked really good, and I'm really happy with how that thing went together, and that's going to really strengthen this whole unit and make it last for many, many years. I was going around and around about like where I should put the brand or my logo or something. And I thought maybe lower right-hand corner of all my projects, maybe in the back. And so I went ahead and heated this up and got the branding iron, and I think it came out pretty nice. And you can see my logo there in the lower left corner, and then what the brand looks like as well. And I think that looks great. So for several reasons, the bottom foot in the back was a little bit short. It was about a half-inch short for some reasons and mistakes that I made. And the whole unit kind of tilted back a little bit, which I didn't like. So what I thought, I went around and around on several things, and I didn't really like how this back foot was just a piece of 1x, and it was kind of unfinished. It seemed like it needed a little bit something more. So what I did is I got this block of wood and I relieved it down so it would pick the mirror up a half-inch, and it would also add for like a little bit more of a foot area. I just took it over to the sander to sand all the edges and kind of give a little bit of a bevel to the edges so it could slide a little easier along the carpet. And then I didn't really have any plugs, so I used a dowel. It's not going to really be seen. It's the bottom of the foot. So I figure if it's a dowel and it has little splines around it, it's not going to be that big a deal. And so I tapped it in with my homemade mallet, which I love, and wiped off the glue. Used my Japanese cut-off saw, which works great, to cut those dowels off, and then sanded a little bit by hand to make it flat. The other thing I was concerned about is stepping on the slipper tray. The back is supported, but the front really isn't. So what I thought is I'd put a couple of 45s in the corners. So I cut some 45s, got some glue, got my brad nailer fired up, the air compressor, and just put a couple of brads in there just to hold it until the glue dried. That's going to give it a lot of strength if somebody steps on that front side. So now we just take the whole thing apart because it's time for finish. And so I'm using just my normal stain and poly oak, traditional oak stain and poly, and I think it's going to look great. So we'll just put a couple of coats, sanding in between, and it should look really nice. Here you see the slipper tray. I glued on the leather, and put a bunch of weights on that. And I wanted all the fasteners to kind of be the same color. So the only ones that weren't were these little small screws. So I just put them in a piece of cardboard and shot it with some spray paint black. And now I have all of my pieces with black screws and silvery brackets. And so now it's just time to assemble. Went together pretty fast, pretty easily. I was really happy with how everything assembled. Didn't take very long. And we're just about done with this project. Here we have our mirror. We're just going to walk around it. It's all done. And I think it came out pretty nice. I like the finish. I like how it looks. I think it's going to be very functional for many years to come. Well, I think that just about does it here on Scott's Garage. Anyway, I really appreciate you watching this video. I had a great time and hope you had a good time watching it. And we'll see you next time on Scott's Garage. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.